Ignore him completely and watch what happens. Carl Jung. What if I told you that the most powerful thing you can do right now is nothing? No texts, no calls, no explanations at midnight that go unheard. Just one quiet decision, and suddenly everything changes. Because silence, when it comes from self-respect, doesn't sound empty. It echoes. It's not the absence of noise that gets to him. It's what happens inside that silence. He expects you to wait, to reach, and to fill the gap. But you don't. You evolve instead. You shift. And when you shift, everything around you begins to rearrange itself. When he looks for your attention and finds peace instead, it unsettles him. When he expects another message and finds nothing but space, it shakes the foundation he's been standing on. Because you've stopped feeding his ego. You've stopped offering emotional reassurance where there is no emotional effort. You've stopped chasing clarity from someone who benefits from your confusion. That quiet withdrawal, that subtle recentering, becomes the most powerful move you'll ever make. You're not being cold. You're not being manipulative. You're simply done waiting. And that, more than anything, makes you unforgettable. Because when a woman stops orbiting around a man's indecision, she becomes the mystery he can't solve. There's a unique power in stillness, the kind that doesn't announce itself but radiates. You don't have to prove your worth. You embody it. No words, no drama. Just silence and self-respect. That's what he never saw coming. That's what he won't be able to forget. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And that's exactly what happens when you stop reacting. Your silence forces him to face the unconscious, the part of him that took you for granted, that assumed you'd always be there. Your absence becomes a mirror reflecting his own behavior back at him. But silence alone isn't the secret. It's what you do during that silence that changes everything. Because there's a difference between waiting quietly and growing quietly. When you go silent and rise, when your energy shifts from chasing to creating, from pleasing to expanding, that's when the silence becomes deafening. He doesn't just notice that you're not reaching out. He starts to feel the void of your presence, not as punishment, but as contrast. Contrast is the most powerful psychological wake-up call there is. When someone is used to constant access to your warmth, your messages, and your care, and suddenly that rhythm stops, the absence becomes louder than any confrontation. Silence after consistency is like light after darkness. It reveals everything. He'll check your page. He'll scroll through old messages. He'll look for signs that you're still attached. Because he doesn't miss you when you're silent. He misses you when you're gone. When he realizes your energy has shifted from waiting to walking. And that's the key difference. Waiting keeps you emotionally tethered. Walking sets you free. In the beginning, he might not notice. He might even mistake your quiet for a game. But time reveals the truth. Days pass. Weeks, maybe. And in that space where your validation used to live, something starts to grow. Self-awareness. The question creeps in. Did I lose her? See, the beauty of your silence is that it doesn't beg to be understood. It doesn't chase explanations. It simply exists, firm and unshaken, because peace doesn't plead. This is what many never understand. The moment you stop explaining your worth, you start embodying it. Every text you don't send is a boundary forming. Every call you don't make is a piece of your energy returning home. Every time you resist the urge to remind him what he lost, you remind yourself what you deserve. You might think he's not noticing, but he is. Maybe not consciously, Not immediately, but the mind feels absence, the way the lungs feel the lack of air. It notices what's missing. It craves what once came easily. And what's most haunting for him isn't that you're silent, it's that you're thriving. Because now, your life continues to move. You're glowing, laughing, evolving. You've stopped being the supporting character in his story and returned as the lead in your own. That shift from emotionally available to empowered indifference does something irreversible. It forces him to confront the reality that you were never replaceable, that your softness wasn't weakness, it was generosity, that your consistency wasn't desperation, it was love. And here's the irony. The quieter you become, the louder your value sounds in his memory. Because silence doesn't erase you, it amplifies your absence. But don't mistake this for strategy. This isn't about making him miss you. It's about making you whole again. It's about remembering that peace isn't found in his replies. It's found in your restraint. That clarity doesn't come from forcing closure. It comes from accepting what's already been revealed. You stop checking your phone every few minutes. You stop crafting messages you'll never send. You start filling your mornings with movement, your nights with rest. You begin to rediscover the rhythm of your life before it began, revolving around his indecision. That's the real glow-up, not the filtered photos or the revenge body. It's the energy shift, the internal calm of someone who no longer needs to prove she's over it. You're not performing strongly. You're living it. And while you're healing, something unexpected happens. He starts to remember not just you, but also how it felt to be around you. The warmth, the laughter, the calm. And he realizes those things weren't part of every woman. They were part of you. But by then, your silence has become more than distance. It's a transformation. The silence that once felt like loss now feels like liberation. Because you finally understand that attention isn't love, and silence isn't punishment. It's protection. You're not being unavailable to teach him a lesson. You're unavailable because you've outgrown the version of yourself that tolerated uncertainty. You've stopped waiting for half efforts and started walking toward wholeness. There's a subtle peace that follows. You don't need to check whether he's thinking about you. You already know. The answer doesn't change your value. You don't need to rehearse what you'd say if he reached out. You've already said it through your absence. And this is where true emotional power begins. It's not about having the last word. It's in not needing one. It's not about being remembered. It's in being free. The silence isn't empty. It's full of self-respect, of reflection, of renewal. Because what once felt like rejection becomes redirection. You're not losing him. You're finding you. And here's what he'll never fully understand. You didn't disappear to make him chase you. You disappeared because you finally caught yourself. That's the moment your energy shifts from longing to living, from needing to know, from hoping to healing. That's when silence becomes power. When you finally step back and stop orbiting his world, something unexpected begins to happen. You start to realize that the most profound power isn't in control. It's in the clarity. It's in recognizing that your peace is non-negotiable. And your presence is a privilege, not a commodity, to be taken lightly. And when he notices that you no longer revolve around his energy, he doesn't just feel your absence. He feels the weight of what he's lost. The key to this transformation is not in silence alone. It's in what you do while you are silent. It's in how your life begins to hum with purpose, joy, and momentum without him at the center. You stop counting the hours until he texts. You stop analyzing every phrase, every tone, every pause. And instead, You start filling your hours with things that bring you life. Books that feed your mind. Music that feeds your soul. Workouts that remind you of your strength. Laughter that reminds you of your light. Men are conditioned to expect attention. They are accustomed to it. They've been fed emotional reassurance like a safety net. And when that net disappears, they feel it. Not because they've suddenly realized your worth, but because the comfort they relied upon is gone. That gap, once filled with your energy, now echoes with emptiness. That's when the first pangs of regret creep in. But here's the subtle shift. He doesn't only feel loss. He begins to question. Did I ever really know her? Did I take her for granted? Was I blind to her presence? That questioning is the power of absence. The moment your energy becomes unavailable, he starts replaying moments, reconstructing conversations, attempting to decode a puzzle he no longer has the pieces to solve. This is why walking is more impactful than waiting. Waiting is passive. Waiting assumes that your absence will force a realization. Walking assumes nothing. Because walking is not about him. It's about you. Walking is the decision to stop sacrificing your peace for crumbs of attention. Walking is the recognition that your life is too precious to be held hostage by indecision or inconsistency. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That is exactly what walking represents. You are no longer negotiating your worth for someone else's comfort. You are no longer tethered to their whims, waiting for acknowledgement that may never come. You are becoming yourself, fully, unapologetically, irrevocably. And as you do, you'll notice a strange phenomenon. He begins to notice the details he never paid attention to before. The quiet confidence that now radiates from you. The ease in your smile. The subtle glow of someone who isn't waiting for validation. He sees it and feels it, even if he can't name it. He scrolls your feed, tries to decode your days, but he can't catch up to the version of you that's already moved forward. This is where the psychological shift happens. Silence alone could be mistaken for disinterest or game playing, but silence paired with visible evolution, growth, and joy, that is magnetic. That triggers a type of internal alarm he can't ignore. It forces self-reflection. It forces him to confront the simple truth. The version of you he relied on is no longer available. And it may never be. It's not about manipulation. It's not about revenge. It's about truth. It's about giving him access to a reality he's never faced before. That love, attention, and care are not obligations. They are gifts. And when those gifts are withheld, not out of spite, but out of self-respect, the realization hits harder than any message ever could. You may wonder if this seems cruel, but the reality is, it isn't cruel. It's restorative. It restores your energy, your time, and your emotional bandwidth. It redirects your attention back to your life, your purpose, your growth. And here's the most critical point. When you stop performing for someone else's ego, you reclaim your own power. You stop shrinking to fit into the space they've allowed you. You expand into the life you were meant to lead. During this process, you begin to notice other shifts, subtle but profound. Your mornings are lighter. Your nights are calmer. Your thoughts are clearer. You are no longer tethered to anticipation or disappointment. And in this space, confidence grows organically. There's no need to project strength. You simply become it, and he will notice. Oh, he will notice. He'll feel the absence before he acknowledges it. He'll remember the small ways he used to rely on your presence. And suddenly, they're gone. Your quiet evolution exposes every gap he filled carelessly, Every moment he assumed you'd wait. Every time he dismissed your energy as endless. And he starts to wrestle with a truth he didn't want to see. He didn't just lose your attention. You lost your willingness to make him the center of your life. This is where obsession begins. Not the unhealthy kind, but the kind rooted in reflection and longing. He'll replay conversations, try to decode social media posts, analyze moments that he previously ignored. It's not revenge. It's a realization. And that realization carries weight because it's based in authenticity, not performance. Walking away, choosing your own life, doesn't happen overnight. It's not a single action. It's a series of choices. Every time you resist reaching out, every time you choose growth over explanation, you reinforce your boundaries. Every time you pour your energy into yourself instead of chasing his acknowledgement, you're building a version of you that is untouchable by indecision. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to make him notice, the more he does, the more he notices. Because absence has consequences. It exposes patterns, reveals truths, and highlights investment that he previously took for granted. He begins to question everything: his choices, his assumptions, his understanding of your value. And yet you remain undisturbed. Not because you are unaffected by loss, but because you have stepped fully into the power of self-possession. You are no longer waiting for him to respond to feel complete. You are no longer tethered to his perception to validate your worth. Your focus is on your life. What feeds you, not what drains you. And this is where the difference becomes undeniable. In his mind, your absence creates a void. In yours, your presence creates a world. One is chaos, the other is clarity. And the more you occupy your life fully, the more impossible it becomes for him to ignore what he once dismissed. Because here's the truth. No man obsesses over a woman who is perpetually available. He obsesses over the one who stops orbiting, who removes her energy from his gravitational pull, who rises without looking back. That obsession isn't manufactured. It's organic. It arises naturally when he realizes what he's taken for granted and can no longer access. And while he grapples with that, you flourish. You reclaim your mornings, your nights, your energy. You pour into your passions, your friendships, your ambitions. You rebuild your rhythm, your joy, your confidence. And in that reclamation, you achieve something most people never do: self-sufficiency. Because when a woman learns to be whole without external validation, she becomes magnetic in a way words cannot capture. She doesn't need drama to prove value. She doesn't need arguments to claim attention. She simply is. And in being, she creates a space that is simultaneously available, undeniable, and unforgettable. Carl Jung reminds us, "I am not defined by what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." Walking away, choosing yourself, choosing growth over grief is exactly that. It's a conscious declaration of identity beyond circumstance, beyond dependence, beyond his approval. And that, more than any other message, any confrontation, any explanation, is what changes everything. Once you've stepped fully into your own life, the real transformation begins. Not in the dramatic gestures, not in the late-night confrontations or desperate messages, but in the quiet confidence of someone who has decided that her peace is more important than proving anything to anyone. This is the shift from being reactive to being magnetic, from being available to being self-contained, from hoping to knowing. When you stop orbiting around his uncertainty, he begins to feel a void where your energy used to be. That void isn't just absence, it's a revelation. It forces him to confront something he never faced while you were present. The full measure of what he took for granted. Suddenly, your calm, your growth, your laughter, your joy, everything he ignored becomes glaringly visible. And the most unsettling thing for him is that you don't need to explain any of it. You don't have to send one text, not one voicemail, not one subtle hint. Your life speaks for itself, and it says more than words ever could. You see, the true power of silence is not in withholding. It is in redirecting. When he is used to receiving your attention without effort, your withdrawal forces him to experience life without the comfort of your presence. And if he's ever truly cared, if his connection was ever genuine, that absence is seismic. It shakes the foundation of complacency he has built around your consistency. The comfort he once took for granted becomes a haunting echo. And here's the truth most people never articulate. You don't do this to punish him. You do this to honor yourself. You stop feeding the cycle of expectation and disappointment because you understand something profound. Your energy is finite, and it deserves to be invested in where that is reciprocated. When you redirect it toward yourself, when you invest in your own growth, your own joy, your own life, you are no longer a supporting character in someone else's story. You become the protagonist of your own story. It's subtle at first, almost imperceptible. The first day, you don't check your phone obsessively. The first night you fall asleep without replaying the last conversation. The first morning you wake up excited about your life rather than anxious about his reactions. But those small, quiet moments accumulate. They compound into a momentum that cannot be ignored. You are no longer tethered to his indecision. You are anchored in your own clarity. And while you flourish, he begins to feel the discomfort of his own actions. The mind doesn't process absence easily. It fills the space with questions, doubts, and recollections. Every conversation, every laugh, every text you ever sent begins to replay. Now stripped of context and colored by the reality of your absence. And with that reply comes the inevitable realization. He didn't just lose a woman who cared, he lost a part of himself that existed only in the reflection of your attention, your validation, your presence. But here's the subtle, almost poetic truth. The more silent you are, the more undeniable your presence becomes. You no longer chase, no longer explain, no longer perform for recognition. And in that very act of self-possession, you become magnetic. People often confuse chaos and drama for power, but the real power is calmness. It is the quiet assertion of value, the unspoken declaration that you are not to be taken lightly. Every story you post, every photo you share, every moment of visible growth is not about him, it's about you. Yet he feels it as if it were a message written just for him. That's the paradox of absence paired with elevation. You are completely occupied with yourself, and yet your absence resonates loudly in the mind of the one who took you for granted. And when he begins to feel the weight of this absence, the first impulses that arise are confusion and reflection. He begins to wonder, to question, to analyze. Did I misread her? Did I take her for granted? Did I ever see her fully? And that is when regret creeps in. Not the manufactured kind that comes from guilt, but the authentic kind that arises when reality hits and he realizes he has lost access to something rare, something irreplaceable, something that cannot be reclaimed simply with a message or a gesture. Your silence is not void. It is an active presence. It forces a confrontation with reality. It is not passive, it is deliberate, and it is profoundly transformative. Not just for him, but for you. Because every time you resist the urge to reach out, every time you choose your peace over the need for explanation, you reclaim a piece of yourself that was lost in the pattern of emotional availability. Carl Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." And this is exactly what walking, choosing yourself, and embracing your own life represent. It's a conscious act of self-definition, a refusal to be defined by someone else's indecision, neglect, or inconsistency. You are defining your worth on your own terms. You are constructing your life around your own joy, not someone else's validation. And as your life grows, your confidence radiates. You no longer measure every interaction by the barometer of his reactions. You no longer analyze every delay or every missed call. Instead, you exist fully in your own rhythm, in your own space, in your own light. And the irony is that this is precisely when he starts to feel the true impact of your absence. Because presence without dependence is the most magnetic force there is. He begins to notice the gaps, subtle at first, then more stark. The routines he relied on you to fill are empty. The conversations that were once effortless now require initiative. He isn't used to providing, and as he searches for meaning in your absence, he begins to realize something essential. He didn't just lose access to you. He lost the version of life that existed when he was fully present, fully available, fully invested. But here's the profound liberation in all of this. Your power is not contingent on his realization. You don't need him to notice, to chase, to regret. Your power exists independently, anchored in your own clarity, your own growth, your own joy. You are no longer bound by the expectation of recognition. You are free, fully, unconditionally, and irrevocably. And that freedom is terrifying to him. Not because you said anything, but because you became uncatchable. He can no longer depend on your presence as a safety net. He can no longer expect automatic validation, constant attention, or unquestioned patience. He is left with the echo of absence, the void of someone who has finally chosen herself, and the uncomfortable question, what if she never comes back? Walking away, stepping fully into your life, embracing your silence, and nurturing your growth is not about punishment. It is about truth. It is about clarity. It is about self-respect. And it is the only way to create a shift that is both enduring and undeniable. Every decision to invest in yourself, to focus on your joy, to stop reacting, compounds into a presence that cannot be erased, ignored, or replaced. And that presence, quiet, confident, and unwavering, is the ultimate testament to your value. Because when you stop orbiting him and start orbiting yourself, something shifts at the deepest level. You become untethered, unshakable, and unforgettable. You no longer exist in reaction to someone else's energy. You exist in full alignment with your own. And that alignment, that internal gravity, is irresistible. The final truth of this journey is simple, yet often overlooked. When you reclaim yourself, your energy, your attention, and your time, the dynamic changes entirely. Not because of manipulation, not because of games, but because of alignment. You no longer exist to fill someone else's gaps. You exist to expand into your own life. And that expansion is contagious, magnetic, and undeniable. When he first notices your absence, He may feel panic, confusion, or even anger, but those feelings are reflections of his own unexamined patterns, not a measure of your value. You are not going to create discomfort. You have gone to honor clarity. And that distinction is subtle but profound. It is the difference between reaction and authenticity, between dependency and sovereignty. Walking away, choosing your own life, choosing silence and self-elevation is not passive. It is deliberate. Every moment you do not reach out, every time you resist the urge to explain, and every instance you refuse to chase reinforces a boundary you once compromised. And with each reinforced boundary, your presence becomes both a lesson and a revelation. He begins to replay old conversations, to analyze what he missed, to consider moments that were once trivial but now seem monumental. What most people misunderstand about absence is this. It is not just the removal of attention. It is the creation of space. Space for reflection. Space for clarity. Space for him to see what he truly valued but neglected. And here's the twist. Space does not work if it is filled with hope that he will notice. Space only works when it is occupied by your life, by your joy, by your growth. When you fill your world with yourself, absence becomes power. Every morning you wake up without anxiety over your reaction. Every evening you rest without replaying his words. Every hour you spend cultivating your passions, it all compounds. Your presence in your own life becomes undeniable. Your silence becomes deafening. Your indifference, grounded in self-respect, is more magnetic than any words you could have spoken. And while you are building, growing, and reclaiming, he is left to grapple with the absence of what he once relied on. The comfort, the attention, the unwavering patience. Gone. Every text you never sent. Every call you didn't make. Every time you resisted checking in, it became a measure of his own inaction. And the more he realizes this, the more the weight of loss settles in. But here's the most important revelation. This isn't about him at all. It is about you. You are not performing silence to provoke a reaction. You are embracing your own life, your own value, your own peace. You are no longer tethered to the uncertainty of someone else's attention. And that untethered existence is the truest form of freedom. Carl Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. That transformation happens in this silence. Not because you are seeking to change him, but because your own evolution is unavoidable. Your presence, even in absence, alters the energy that once defined your relationship. You have become a force he cannot control, a life he cannot contain, a presence he cannot reclaim with words or gestures. As your days fill with genuine connection, purpose, and joy, you begin to notice more than just absence. He notices change. He notices the calm confidence you exude. He notices the rhythm of a life that moves independently of his approval. And with that realization comes one of the most profound effects. He begins to question what he lost. Not to regain control, but because he can no longer reconcile your absence with the version of you he thought was permanent. Walking, choosing yourself, and being quiet yet vibrant are radical acts. It dismantles expectations. It breaks cycles. It disrupts old patterns. It shows him that you are no longer negotiable, no longer available for half effort, no longer tethered to uncertainty. And in that shift, something remarkable happens. You become unforgettable, not because you tried to be, but because you finally stopped trying to be anything other than yourself. And here's the subtle brilliance of this approach. It doesn't create obsession through drama or manipulation. It creates obsession through authenticity, through presence, through alignment. Because when a woman knows her value so completely that she refuses to hand it out to someone who cannot meet her standards, she is irresistible. Not in the way of seduction, but in the way of truth. Her absence becomes a mirror, reflecting his own choices, his own gaps, his own inconsistencies. The more you invest in your life, the more he notices what is missing. But your attention is no longer his to command. Your energy is no longer an option. Your joy no longer depends on his recognition. And that is the ultimate shift. The moment your peace is non-negotiable, the moment your life moves forward without asking for permission or approval, that is the point where the game ends. Not with noise, but with clarity. You do not need to text, call, or explain. You do not need to justify your boundaries or your choices. You do not need to rehearse the reasons for your absence. Your life, fully lived, fully claimed, and fully yours, is more than an explanation. It is evidence, and that evidence is impossible to ignore. The quiet strength you cultivate is contagious. It draws people in naturally. It demands respect without asking. It commands attention without pleading. And it is built entirely on one truth. Your value is inherent, not conditional. It is not dependent on his recognition, his reciprocation, or his approval. It exists independently, unshakable, undeniable, and transformative. And in the end, the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Not in the sense of emptiness, but in the sense of presence within absence. No texts, no calls, no explanations, just life, just growth, just clarity. That is your statement. That is your power. That is the silence that speaks louder than words ever could. Because the woman who chooses herself, who embraces her own growth, and who steps into her own life with unwavering confidence, is not just unforgettable, she is untouchable. And the one who fails to recognize that is left to navigate the emptiness of his own inaction. Haunted by the absence of a presence he never truly valued, his life becomes the ultimate message. You are no longer available for uncertainty, for inconsistency, for half-hearted effort. You are fully, completely, irrevocably yourself. And that, more than any words, any drama, or any explanation, is what changes.